Chris Hensley is a registered representative of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer member of FINRA SIPC, investment advisor representative of Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Houston First Financial Group are not affiliated.
The Houston Midtown chapter of the Society for Financial Awareness presents Money Matters with your host, Christopher Hensley.
Good afternoon, everybody. You are listening to Money Matters on KPFT Houston. Today's topic: payday loans are legal in Texas, but legislation continues to look for ways to regulate lenders. Unfortunately, payday lenders found a loophole that allows them to register as a credit services organization. In doing so, payday lenders in Texas can charge unrealistic amounts in fees and interest, leaving you in an endless cycle of debt. This has left 75% of Houston residents that currently have payday loans out locked in a loan renewal cycle. Our guest today is Zara Mohidin. She is with FIG Loans, and they have a alternative solution to payday loans in Houston. And so we will do a deep dive into this topic, as well as some of the other things that they have going on right now supporting Houston's community when it comes to financial literacy. But with that, we always do reserve just the first few minutes of the show to tell you a little bit about what's going on in the Houston and the Gulf Coast region when it comes to financial literacy. So wow, we actually do have a lot going on here in October. So let me start with the calendar here. On the 19th, I will be doing a webinar with Houston Family Services. They have a financial coaching network, and they have asked me to do a webinar on investment basics to kind of as a train the trainer for their financial counselors. So that will be on October 19th. On October 22nd, I will be going out to College Station for a group out there called Business Pathfinders. And Adam Lawrence, who is a producer on this show, has asked me, he is active in this group and has asked me to talk and speak in front of this group to talk about entrepreneurship and business at College Station. And then on the 24th, I will be doing a retirement income planning talk. This is free. It's open to the public. It is going to be at a Saltgrass Steakhouse off of I-10. So that is on October 24th. With that, let me make a couple of other announcements here. At KPFT, we are always, this show is at no cost, no charge, it's free. But one of the things that we do ask is if it's something that you like, when we have fund drives to give, to keep the lights on here at the station to help keep things going. And so it is that time of the year. On the HD3 side, one of the easiest ways that you can show your support is to go to kpft.org. You're going to look at the top right-hand corner of the web page, and there's going to be a button that says Donate Now. That is the quickest and easiest way to do that. And then also, the Women's Resource Center, they are one of the partners of Houston Money Week. They are involved in a contest right now through Aetna Health Insurance, where they are possibly going to get $20,000 for nonprofit organizations. And all you need to do is vote on that. And so there's a website, www.tinyurl.com /TWRAETNA. And what you'll see is a group of all of these local Houston nonprofits. Women's Resource of Greater Houston has asked me to make you guys aware. So I have done that. And then on the podcast notes, I've also put a link to that. So you can always go back to the podcast notes and see that. But with that, let's go ahead and get Zara on the line. Zara, are you there?
Hi, Chris. Yes, I'm here.
Thank you for joining us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So I always kind of start the show the same way. So I'm going to introduce you to the audience and let them get to know you a little bit better by sharing your bio.
Sure.
Zara is the head of business development for FIG Loans, which is a social impact company focused on creating socially responsible alternatives to predatory payday loans. Prior to that, you worked at Catholic Charities. You were able, let's see, you had also worked with Linklaters Investment Management Group, and you were actually a UN representative there in New York as well.
That's right, yeah.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was kind of a roundabout way, but I think, through the UN, I really found a big interest in microfinancing, and that kind of mostly occurs in other developing countries, but I think it's a really powerful tool for helping people, lift themselves out of poverty. And so from there, I got a kind of a more formal training in finance and in economics at Linklaters, and then I kind of blended both together now at FIG, where I am trying to take like formal finance and kind of democratize it and put it in the hands of people who have traditionally been excluded from mainstream forms of credit.
So I can totally see the fit there because I'm familiar with what FIG has done with their kind of the Thrive initiative, but I think most Houstonians haven't even really heard. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of what FIG Loans is and how they got involved in the Houston community?
Yeah, so FIG, and FIG stands for Financial Innovation Group, but we just call ourselves FIG. And so we are really here to change the way people with bad credit experience banking. And this is most often low-income folks or people who have just kind of like been abused by the credit system. And so what we do is we work with nonprofits like the United Way and Houston Family Services to spread awareness about our product. And so our product is an installment loan that is made to help folks get through life's unpredictable hardships. And our difference is that we have low fees. We don't even charge any sort of late fees. It's kind of like if you were borrowing from a friend. And we hope that really reflects our belief in consumers. And we really try to help create a payment schedule that actually makes sense within people's budgets. So we got involved with the Thrive initiative. Really, we got super lucky. What happened is that when we came across payday lending, we were like, how can this be legal? Why are people taking this out? All these questions just came to our mind. And what happened is that we ended up cold calling about 50 nonprofits all around the country. And the only people who were kind enough to return our phone call was the United Way of Greater Houston. And so we got very lucky in that they invited us down. They wanted us to really kind of touch base with the financial coaches, learn what their clients have been experiencing, learn about how predatory payday loans have impacted the Houston community. And so it was really through, gleaning from firsthand experience how payday loans trap people into debt and why people take them out. It's because they have bad credit and they have no other financing options. That's really how we created our loan. So we use the insights from the financial coaches, from the Thrive staff, and from all of our nonprofit partners to really inform our product.
So, for people who aren't aware, Houston Money Week, a lot of the same partners that are with United Way of Greater Houston kind of mesh with what's going on with Houston Money Week.
Yeah.
And so it's a group of nonprofits, it's a group of banks and credit unions that are trying to do a community reinvestment. And so I'm familiar with the problem because I remember when the predatory lending, they get on this cycle.
Right.
And it's almost impossible to stop. If somebody goes once, they're going to go back to it. And so to have something as an alternative to that's something that banks, the nonprofits, had been looking for quite a bit of time. So people that aren't familiar with predatory payday loans, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. And we are also a proud partner of Houston Money Week. We really we love kind of like we love kind of being part of the community and putting on events. And we actually, this past Houston Money League, we teamed up with the Urban League and had a fun event there. So thank you, Chris, for doing everything you do with HMW.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Quick shout out. But so the topic of predatory payday lending. So first, I want to say the reason why folks take out payday loans is because they've had a bad experience with the credit system. They don't have a great credit score, and for that, they're being penalized by not being able to take out cheaper forms of credit, like a credit card or like even a bank loan. And so, because they are in this sort of catch-22, so like you need good credit to build credit, but in order to build credit, you need to get credit. And so it's this really, I guess, contrived system that isn't really made for folks who have just had a bad experience when they were like 21, or, people who culturally just aren't really used to using credit cards. And so those people get penalized unfairly, and they have to pay, exorbitant rates in the forms of payday loans for short-term credit. And the reason why payday loans are so predatory, and I'll highlight about 3 reasons. So the first reason is that most payday loans are balloon payments. So that means that you have to pay everything back in one payment, and that is usually in an unreasonable amount of time, like 2 weeks or a month or something like that. If you don't have $400 today, what makes you think you're going to have $480 in 2 weeks? It's just a really impossible payment structure. And the second thing is they are extremely expensive, not only in the sticker price APR, which stands for annual percentage rate, but on top of that, what makes it even more expensive are the fees. So payday lenders charge late fees, they charge origination fees, they charge change fees. If you want to pay your loan back early, there's a fee for that too. And that is just extremely unfair and very deceptive. So that is another way that payday loans are predatory. The last way that payday loans are predatory is the fact that they don't report credit. So the only way for you to kind of build credit and get access to mainstream credit cards or mortgage loans or, any sort of federal assistance is if you build your credit. And so payday loans, even though you're paying them on time every month, stretching to make things work, they won't report credit to the 3 major credit bureaus. So you're not being rewarded for being a good on-time paying customer. And we think that's really unfair, especially considering that, for a large payday lending company, reporting credit isn't really that hard. So that's why at FIG, we, all of our loans are installment loans, so you have 4 months to pay them back. We don't charge any fees, no late fees, no change fees. It's free to reschedule your payment whenever you want. And we also give you a discount if you want to pay your loan back early, because that makes sense, right? You should be rewarded for paying your loan back early. And the most important thing that contributes to us helping people transition back into mainstream finance is that we report credit to all 3 major credit bureaus for every single one of our loans. So people are rewarded for making on-time payments, for being the good customer, for being responsible, whereas payday lenders just kind of don't really care, and they're trying to get as much money out of you as possible.
So you said quite a bit there, so I'm just going to recap a little bit. I mean,
sorry.
No, that's okay. This has been a huge problem here in the state of Texas. I mean, we've had San Antonio, Houston, where we've tried to make some leeway in getting laws set up. But one of the things that payday lenders have done is that they've traditionally set up around military bases where they know that they're getting paid federally, and it comes in like clockwork and things like that. But you mentioned 3 things. You mentioned one was the way that they're structured. You talked about balloon payments, where you're required to make one large payment, and usually it's going to be short in a short duration of time. You talked about how expensive these loans turn out to be. I mean, I'm not a fan of just regular consumer debt, credit cards. Sometimes you'll see, double-digit interest rates. But when we talk about payday loans, these things can be hundreds of times, 200-300% of what you originally started with after you pay the late fees, and then charging you a fee to pay it off early. And then you also said that they don't report to the credit bureau, which is kind of that cycle where if you're wanting to get in good standing so that you can get some of the traditional consumer lending products like credit cards or just regular walk into the bank and get a good interest rate on a signature loan, you're going to have to have a credit score to be able to do that, and they're not able to do that. So those are some really important things. And that you did talk about everything that's through FIG is going to be an installment. In fact, they're going to incent you to pay it off early. You're going to get a discount rate on that, and that you guys do report to the credit bureau.
Yes, absolutely.
So we'll go back to this in just a moment, but I also wanted to talk about something that you're doing here, or you're doing with the scholarship. You have something called the Social Impact Scholarship. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started our scholarship for social impact. It's a $1,000 scholarship for any student enrolled in a 2-year, a 4-year degree program, or even a graduate program. And so the reason that we started the scholarship is because we've noticed that, over the past couple of years, decision making at the local level is becoming the most important part of civic duty and being a good citizen. And so we've noticed that, all of the meaningful change that's happened in Houston regarding payday lending legislation, that's all been our nonprofit partners. It's been the Houston Money Week partners. It's been Houston Family Services. It's been, Texas Fair Lending Alliance. And so we really want to reward those students who are inspired and aspire to be a positive force for change in their communities. And so the Social Impact Scholarship is one of the many ways that we hope to empower the leaders of tomorrow. And so whoever is listening out there, if you have the desire to make a difference with your career, we would love to hear your story. And you can check out the scholarship, and it's at www.figloans.com/scholarship.
Okay, and I'm actually writing that down as you're saying that so I can post it on the podcast as well. Can you repeat that? It's www.fig.
Yes, www.figloans.com/scholarship.
Perfect. All right, and we'll have a link to that on the podcast notes as well. How long is this a new thing that you guys are rolling out, or have y'all been doing this for a while?
So we did it last year, and we had such a fantastic amount of entries last year. It was super difficult to choose, but our winner is such an inspiring woman. Her name is Samantha, and she is a graduate student at UT Arlington. And her passion in life was helping reform the foster care system. So she had created her own nonprofit, really centered around helping children in the foster care system connect with their forever homes and make sure that they are not bouncing from place to place to place, but rather have a sense of community and a sense of home. And that is really something that was just so unique to Samantha's story, and she was so passionate about it that, we felt that this is exactly the reason why we created this scholarship. And so this is our second year doing it, and we're super excited to see what other inspiring stories we come across.
Well, that's super exciting. I mean, it's newer information out there. Let's talk about, you mentioned that last year that you guys were involved with Houston Money Week as well. Can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were involved with Houston Money Week this past April, and that was so fun because we teamed up with Carnegie Carmel Walker at the Houston Area Urban League, and we just kind of had this little community fair at the Urban League, and we had a Black Panther-themed booth where we kind of used the metaphor of vibranium to illustrate the impact of bad and good credit. So if you had bad credit, you had to pay more vibranium for, let's say, your Black Panther super suit. But if you had good credit, you didn't have to pay as much. And so it was really through little fun initiatives like that we got to spread the word about financial literacy in that community. And it's so fun when we get to do things like this. And Houston Money Week is so great about supporting initiatives like that. So that was great.
Talk to us a little bit. I'm kind of jumping around here, but
yeah, no worries.
Talk to us a little bit about the payday loans again. Do you have any tips for people that they've already started down that road? Kind of maybe best practices or things that they should know about.
Yeah. So we actually got this question so often from our own clients as well as our nonprofit clients that we actually came up with this Real Talk guide. So we actually wrote a guide on how to compare personal loans. What are the things that you need to look at when, you have no other options but a payday loan? Hearing, hey, don't take that out is not helpful. What actually is helpful is this is what APR is. This is how the length of your loan affects your payments. These are the fees. This is the credit reporting. And so we created this guide that is absolutely free for anyone who wants to check it out. I can give you guys the URL right now.
Yeah, please do. I'll pull it up as we're talking here.
Great. It's www.figloans.com/guide. GUIDE.
Perfect, and I see that as well.
Yeah, and so we wrote this kind of Real Talk guide, and the reason I say Real Talk is that it's not super heavy on financial language. It's not like you're going to the bank and they're hitting you with all this crazy verbiage that you don't understand. It's very much real. So, the first thing that we explore and the first question that we have consumers ask is, how much does the loan cost? And so we give explicit instructions on, okay, this is how you find the APR, because a lot of times payday lenders hide the actual cost of their loan. So this is how you click through all these pages and find the actual cost. And we also have a comparison chart of all of the major lenders and payday lenders in Houston versus us. And this is how everything shakes out. And so that is the first question that we have clients ask. The second question that we have clients ask about their payday loans is, how long is the loan for? And that is really because the length of the loan, aka the term of the loan, is how long you'll be paying the loan back. And so the length plus the interest rate actually determines the ultimate cost. And so we kind of break that down into a formula, and it's not, a scary formula. I think it's pretty easy to use. You tell me, Chris, do you think it's pretty simple to understand, or can it be better?
No, I'm actually looking at this really good information. I mean, when we talk about finance, one of the things with adult learning is plain language, and we're embedded in this, so we don't realize how complicated financial ideas are. So that I love this.
Yeah. So we tried to take a step back and be like, okay, well, if someone were explaining this to me, they would have to explain it in plain English, right? Like, I wouldn't be able to sit there and listen to, a bunch of financial jargon for more than 5 minutes. So we needed to, I wanted to be broken down into something that's understandable. And so that's what we tried to do here with understanding how long your loan is, how that impacts your total cost. So that is the second question that we have people ask. The third question that we have clients ask is, can I make the payment? And this is where the distinction between a balloon loan and an installment loan is really helpful. And the reason that distinction is important is because a balloon loan, again, like I said earlier, is one large payment, and it's at the end of the loan. The problem with balloon loans is you can't really reschedule it. You end up rolling it over and it just becomes a longer loan. But with installment loans, since it's repaid in portions over time, also called installment payments, you can split things up. You can kind of spread it out, and you can make it so that you're not just taking out a whole other loan on top of your existing loan. And we have real examples of the difference between a 2-week balloon payment and a 1-month balloon payment and a 4-month installment loan, and all these different examples that we created for consumers to take a look at.
This is good information, even if somebody's going out there to buy a car or to purchase a house. All of these things are still relevant as far as balloon payments and installment payments. And tell us about the next area here, of something that you should be thinking about when you're doing these loans.
Yeah. So then the next thing to think about, or the next question to ask yourself is, are there extra fees? And so the questions that you need to think about is there a late fee for rescheduling payments? How much is it? Is there a fee if my payment is returned? How much is that? Does it cost more to repay my loan early? And so these are all questions that folks should be asking any lender before accepting a loan. It's always important to get clear answers and double-check the fees in loan documents before signing, because, once you sign on that dotted line, they have your information. And so these are asking about fees beforehand is a very important tool. And so the fifth and last question that we have clients ask is, does it report credit? One of the biggest benefits taking out loans is credit reporting. Credit reporting builds up your credit score. It tells other lenders you're a good borrower so they can offer you better and cheaper loans. And so that is one thing that you should ask up front is, am I getting this benefit for all of the money that I'm going to be basically paying this lender? Because, consumers are entitled to credit reporting. It's a very basic thing that we believe all lenders should do. And so that's the last question that we have people ask.
So I don't know if this was necessarily clear at the beginning there, but so this is an alternative for somebody getting a payday lender. But what if you have the situation where somebody has already gone down that road, they've started the cycle? Can they use this to pay off those loans to kind of break that cycle?
You mean the FIG loan?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually encourage people to use our cheaper loan to basically refinance high-interest payday debt, because we're a friendly lender, right? Like, you want to pay off your expensive payday loans that aren't as rigid with our loan that is very flexible, that we can offer you, half-size payments. We can, work with you and work within your budget. So we absolutely encourage that.
So I know that's one of the reasons that when we saw this as a problem with United Way Houston Money Week, it's the idea of stopping that cycle and to have this not only as an alternative, but as to something to kind of put the brakes on it and get people to reset. We are bumping right here towards the end of the show. Got just a few more minutes left. What have I forgot to ask you that you would like listeners to know today?
Well, I would love for listeners to just check out our website. We have a lot of great financial literacy materials, our How to Compare Personal Loans guide. We also have a directory of nonprofit resources. So if you need anything related to, financial counseling or financial coaching, we have a list of folks, most of which are Houston Money Week partners, actually, that are there to help. So I would encourage anyone who's listening, if FIG sounds like it could help you or someone you know, please have them visit our website, which is www.figloans.com.
And Zara, thank you so much for joining us today. I will put a link to that on the podcast notes as well.
Awesome.
And have a great weekend.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Money Matters Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, visit us on the web at www.moneymatterspodcast.com. Drop us a line on SpeakPipe on the right-hand corner. It will receive any voicemails, questions, thoughts, concerns that you have about the show. In addition to this, we recently launched a Patreon campaign. Click on the Donate Now tab to hit the tip jar and find out what Patreon's campaign is all about.